Oh, Alfie can detect the fader being raised up.
He does this when I'm on the radio as well. He has this unique ability to start making a noise as soon as I say something. There we go.
So tomorrow it's all very exciting, Nev. I'm having a company come to work to recondition all of Gemma's alloys.
Oh, those companies do good work, don't they?
We had him in Monday. Yeah, we had him in Monday to do one of the staff's brand new cars that she got from the lease hire company, which had 2 scuffed wheels. And I thought, you're not going to get that, mate. Yeah. And then 2 hours later, you couldn't see it.
They do a good job, don't they?
So I got a quote, and I was happy. So they're coming in tomorrow.
Yeah. Can you tilt your camera down ever so slightly, please, Carlos?
I mean, I can do. Probably see at the bottom of the green screen.
Oh, right. Okay, all right. Leave it then. Leave it then. Leave it. It's fine.
Leave it.
Yeah, it's just that you're quite low down in the shot. That's all.
I think it will. It might be able to come down a little. Actually, hold on. How much top have I got? I've got a bit of.
Uh-oh. Oh, hello. You're destroying the magic, Carlos.
It also looks terribly offensive what he's doing to that screen.
I know. I feel very sorry for Sally B. I'm not going to lie.
Right. Is that... Oh, blimey. Is that any better?
It's a little better, yes. Yeah. The issue is... Why I'm trying to do... Wow. Oh, I've lost the ability to communicate. It's because it's a little bit low there when you do that. That's all.
Oh, I'm looking at it now. Look.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of my point. But anyway, there we go. That's all right. It's fine. I'll just not use them. It's fine.
No, don't use them. It looks all right for me. It's fine.
Okay. All right. 3 minutes. Oh, blimey! I better get.
What's lovely?
Get some buttons ready. Oof.
Oh, Cadbury's buttons. Oh.
Right. Okay.
Eat a bag of those.
Loaded.
Although I'm quite partial to the milk, the white chocolate ones. Oh.
What?
I like caramel now. That's very
nice.
Nice.
Caramac.
Gone. Can't buy it anymore.
Yes, it's extinct.
That was the best.
It was.
Best. One of the best chocolate bars ever was Caramac.
I just realised this is the first time I've been in the pub this year.
Yeah.
What, actually?
First time I've sat down in the pub and had a drink this year, yeah.
Oh, wow. And we're into...
It's nearly March.
Nearly.
Cool. Got some catching up to do, haven't I?
Salute. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, mouse is nearly charged up.
Is it? Jolly good, jolly good, jolly good.
I know the battery ran out when I got in here tonight.
Let's see. I need to find the clock. There's the clock.
Say that I'd not buy a rechargeable mouse again.
Yes, you said that. I've got a Mac one, but that lasts for like about 6 weeks between charges, so it's not too much of a problem.
This lasts a long while, but there's no way of me telling how much battery's left in it. Or I don't think there is anyway. Unless it's somewhere hidden.
Here we go then. 15 seconds. Oh, I need to make the clock go away. Okay.
Make the clock go away.
Good luck, everyone.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 540 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, we look at a reduction in the number of some North Atlantic routes, an update on the search for MH370, and Nev talks about his flight to and from HEL, Helsinki, that is. In the military, we discuss the first flight of the Messerschmitt Me on this day in history. And joining me back over in the PTUK Master Suite studios, pushing all the right buttons, it's Matt Smith.
But not necessarily in the right order, as always. Hello. Hiya.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I feel bad because I've got a beer and you haven't got one, Matt.
Right.
I need to remedy that. Need to get you some beers.
We don't really do beer in this house, really, but
okay.
Never mind. All part of the fun.
I'll get you some gin instead.
I can see Andy literally twitching at that Mick concert. He looks horrified.
Oh.
How dare you not drink beer?
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? No, I was supposed to not be drinking during the week, though. To be fair,
Right, that's going well.
It's a cheeky one tonight, being it's a show. I'm allowed.
Okay.
Just don't tell Gemma.
No,
anyway,
right. Just as well we don't record this then, isn't it? And put it out on several public platforms.
And joining us back again this week, as I said, from his fresh flight on Finnair to Helsinki and back, it is, of course, Neville Bounds.
Yes, and very nice it was too. Thank you very much. We'll be talking about that a bit later on in the show. But yes, week 3 of retirement is going quite well. I'm doing lots of clearing out of old work swag type clothes and all the rest of it, and cleaning the studio, but yeah, quite cathartic, I have to say, although it is a bit shocking how much room I've now got left in my wardrobe, having cleared out so many work shirts and suits and what have you. But no, it's been good week this week, and when the weather's getting a bit nicer in the next few days, that's when it's a bit nicer to be retired. I think when it's yucky weather outside, it's not a lot of fun, to be honest with you, at times. But no, it's been good, and looking forward to tonight's show.
Excellent. Well, good to have you as always, Nev. And also joining us this week, live from his pub studio, is, of course, our resident Airbus captain and sim captain as well. It is, of course, Andy.
Hello. Yes, first time in the pub this year.
Woohoo! What's the temperature, just out of interest?
What, of the beer?
Well,
no,
outside
it's more because he's up north, you see. It's a bit colder up north.
outside it's 3 degrees, I think.
Ooh.
Which is quite chilly. But yeah, it's good to be back. Unlike Nev, I am not retired, unfortunately, so I've been very busy. And I've had several weeks off. And Nev, now you've got all that room, is Sue going to drag you down to Bicester Village, stock up on stuff? Fill your wardrobe?
Bicester Village, that's a very interesting place to be.
It is.
I can't say much about it on air, I have to say. But it's not one of my favourites, put it that way.
No, likewise. And somehow when we lived down south, even though we're about 40 miles from it, I always got dragged there. Anyway, pleasure to be back.
Good to see you. Like you said, Andy, you've had a very busy time of it, and you've still got loads more work to do. I think you said earlier, didn't you, as well?
Yes,
in the coming weeks.
This is one of my busy times of year, preparing for the next training cycle. So yeah, I'm quite busy at the moment. But I thought I'd take some time out and come and enjoy some time with you chaps.
Oh, isn't he lovely?
Very much appreciated.
So let's take a look at who we've got in the live YouTube chat room this evening. Going to scroll all the way to the top of the list and see that Mazoos was the first one in there tonight. Hello to you, Mazoos. Richard Adams, hello. Hobby Time. We've got Dirk S. Hello, Dirk. Good to see you in there, Dirk. Alan White as well, our good friend Alan over in Ireland there. He's in the chat room. Bill. Good evening, Bill. Bill says, happy Wednesday, all. Thanks, Bill. We have got Darren Smith. Hello to you, Darren. And thanks for tuning in to my show on Saturday, where it was slightly cooler where you were than when I sat here in the studio. Also, good evening to Evan Shue. He's in the chat room, says, g'day, team.
Oh, what on earth time is it there?
I know. I honestly, Evan, you are a legend for getting up or staying up this late or whatever it is. And I don't know what the time is there. Tanya. Hello, Tanya. The lovely Tanya's in there as well. Good evening to you. We've got Hobby Time, Bill, Dirk. I don't think I missed one. And also popping in there just now in the chat room is our very own John Jester as well, who we had on. Was it last week we had John on, didn't we, on the show?
Yes.
Says hello all, he says. So don't forget, if you're watching or listening to us, I should say, if you're listening to us as an audio podcast and you've not yet seen how gorgeous Nev and Matt and Andy are, you can tune in on YouTube every Wednesday night here at 7 o'clock to the YouTube channel and subscribe and hit that bell icon to see when we are live and doing a show. Is that not right, Matt? No?
Are you feeling all
How many cans have you had already, Carlos?
Absolutely.
All right.
Too many by the sounds of it, yeah. I mean,
Look
I've heard a big
look how fresh Nev looks like. Since he retired, he's a gleaming ray of sunshine.
To be fair, I do have to agree with Carlos. You look very well in retirement.
Oh, thank you. I'm just a bit less stressed than I would normally
bet.
be. Yeah, probably.
Wow.
I can almost envisage in that Nev's garage. He's now got all his waxes and polishes for the car all neatly lined up with the polishing rags and stuff all.
I have, as a matter of fact, yes. But they were like that before I retired.
I was going to say, nothing's changed there. Yeah.
So we've got loads to get through on the show tonight, including a very special retro airline ad of the week this week. It's from an airline that we've not seen an ad from yet on this show. And if you're a fan of the McDonnell Douglas DC-10, you are probably going to like this ad a fair amount. But shall we start with some commercial news?
Sure, why not? Let's press
go.
the button, shall we? Yes, here we
The
go.
captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Bill, my only rule is... First story this week comes from simpleflying.com. Norse axes London Gatwick to Miami flights. I thought they would. Long-haul low-cost airline Norse Atlantic Airways has planned changes to its long-haul network from London Gatwick for its upcoming winter season. According to schedules filed to aviation analytics firm Serum, the airline's Miami route will be axed as of October the 25th. This coincides with the launch of new routes to Bangkok that begins the following day. The route is operated by the company's UK division, North Atlantic UK, and service is currently offered on a twice-weekly basis with a Boeing 787-9 configured in a heavy, dense 338-seat layout. Loads, although not a direct measurement of the profitability or given route, can provide an indication. In this case, loads were particularly low for the periods for which data is available. The US Department of Transport figures for September 2023, when the route was launched, and November 2024, the most recent available, shows that load factors reached an average of 69%. Below the average of 75 enjoyed by North Atlantic Airways as a whole on all US services for the same period. The worst month was January 2024 with just 49% occupancy, while the best month was November with 86% occupancy. It's worth noting that for the 2024-25 winter season, Norse reduced frequencies on the route from daily to just twice weekly as of September the 10th, contributing to improving performance on the load side. In a statement to Simple Flying, Norse confirmed that a positive load trajectory was noted for November 2024 and has continued. For the last few months, loads have exceeded 90%, reaching close to 100% occupancy, the airline said. In January 2025, this figure stood at 93%, the carrier said, and it did not specify the reasons for the route suspension, though. There are 3 other airlines that operate between London and Miami this summer. That includes BA with the A380 on a daily service, American Airlines with a 777-300ER twice daily, and Virgin Atlantic with their A330-900 and the 787 twice daily. Especially when considering the competition, the route combined with low loads, it's safe to assume yields on the route were not ideal, and Norse's differentiating factor is one of low fares rather than comfort, meaning its flights were not full and it may have not been enough. While Norse Atlantic has not responded to Simple Flying's comments on this story, requests for confirmation about the route suspension is likely, and rumour has it the carrier has sent an internal message to Fort Lauderdale Miami crews about the base closure in Miami. And I think I read a story either yesterday or the day before confirming that this has happened. They have absolutely finished the routes, and they're going to close this route between the UK and Miami with Norse. So, yeah, they're trying hard, but obviously Miami is just not that destination.
Well, also, there's plenty of competition on that route as well. And I don't really like the idea of high density seating. 383 passengers on a 787-9. Did I hear that?
338. No, 338.
338. Yeah, it's too many for my liking. But yeah, and we've seen calamities before of people trying to do low cost operation across the North Atlantic, and with the amount of competition that there is at the moment, and with the load factors as low as that, it's just never going to work, is it?
No.
The other airlines mentioned all offer a premium service as well, and that's where the money's to be made. In the low-cost world, short haul, long haul, whatever you want, it's only really, if you imagine a full aircraft, the last 2 or 3 rows of seats that actually provide the profit. And if you don't fill those 3 rows, including all of the other 40-odd rows in this case, you're not going to make any money. Everything else is just a cost. So in the flights where the months where they had like 49% occupancy, they were hemorrhaging cash then. As well, they don't have unlimited aircraft, and as they start in Bangkok the next day as well, that's quite coincidental as well. I think they've just redeployed the aircraft and the crew, which makes sense really if you think they can make money on that route.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't looked online to see what the reviews are like on the actual flights or the aircraft itself to see how bad it is sitting in that kind of density seating, but it'd be interesting to see what people's reviews are on flying on a route like that on such a high density filled up aircraft. But
I doubt it's particularly comfortable, but
no.
If that's your price bracket, then that's your price bracket.
Talking of price brackets, Matt, you've got the next story, and all about tax.
Indeed. Markey introduces business jet fat cat tax bill is the headline on this one. It's AIN online. Sorry, there's a lot going on downstairs for some reason, so apologies if I'm a little distracted. US Senator Edward Markey is continuing his push to go after fat cats, reintroducing legislation to raise fuel taxes on business jets from 22 cents to $2 per gallon. Initially introduced in 2023, the Fueling Alternative Transportation with a Carbon Aviation Tax, Fat Cat as they call it, Act, it would increase fuel taxes to the equivalent of an estimated $200 per tonne of a private jet's carbon dioxide CO2 emissions, as well as remove fuel tax exemptions for logging and oil or gas exploration. Markey said under the bill, increased revenue from the taxes would be channeled into the Airport and Airway Trust Fund and a newly created Clean Communities Trust Fund. The latter fund would support air monitoring for disadvantaged communities, as well as provide investments for clean, affordable public transport, such as passenger rail and bus routes near commercial airports. Similar legislation also had been introduced in the House in 2023 by Republican Nydia Velázquez, but neither her bill nor Markey's gained any traction in the last Congress, with a Republican-led House and Senate in the current Congress. Environmentally based legislation such as this may face face even more reluctance. However, it underscores a continual theme involving the views of these lawmakers as environmentalists target business aviation. In announcing the reintroduction of the bill, Markey's office called private jets the most energy-intense form of travel. It's time to make billionaire fat cats pay their absolute bare minimum to fly private jets and prioritise clean public transportation, he said. I won't go on. You get the gist.
If you've got the money to
essentially.
fly like the geese, you've got the money to pay the taxes, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, there is that. I mean, I personally can't see that getting much traction at all, given the current administration and how even companies like BP and things are sort of like scaling back on. I think it was a story in the news today, wasn't it? Where they're
Politics.
I know. It's a bit of a dangerous game, isn't it? But I know BP obviously have released in the news that they're scaling back their investment in green projects by quite some significant margin. So I'd be very, very surprised if this carries any form of traction, given the current administration, shall we say. So my guess would be that I can't see this coming into force in the next 4 years, but that may be.
I agree.
But I think perhaps, in 4 years' time, perhaps that there might be more traction on it. But I mean, in many ways, I'm completely with you, Carlos. In many ways, I think it's not going to stop these people from using their private jets at the end of the day, is it? If you're a billionaire, you're not going to worry about an extra sort of $200, are you? Let's be honest.
Just pay the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
On a lighter note, can we just praise them for their absolute sterling work at getting the Fat Cat acronym in there? The fuel alternative transportation with a carbon aviation tax. I know that is beautiful.
Somebody has got a degree in marketing there, haven't they? I think somebody knows what they're doing, don't they? Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, if there are any billionaires listening to the show and they do want, some hosts from an aviation podcast to try their private jets, we are more than happy to try them for you as well.
If they wish to pay me significant sums to fly them for them as well, I'm
there we
game
go.
for that as well. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the only thing there is I think you may have some competition from Armando on that front, but anyway.
Very true. Very true.
Right, Nev, you've got the next story, and we're back on batteries again.
Oh dear, lithium-ion batteries. Will we ever hear the end of it? Probably not. It's on travelradar.aero, and it says that EVA Air announces battery bank ban on board. And following multiple incidents of aircraft fires, EVA Air announced a battery bank ban on board their flights as a safety precaution. Passengers are banned from using these devices whilst on board the aircraft and en route. Since the start of 2025, there have been various reports of aircraft fires in Asia. One happened at Busan Airport, where an Air Busan plane caught fire. It was suspected that the cause of the fire was an overheated battery bank on board in the cabin. Since the incident, multiple Korean airlines announced tightened restrictions on battery banks on board as safety precautions. Following their announcements, other Asian airlines followed suit and announced new restrictions on using battery banks on board. Starlux Airlines announced a ban on using battery banks, whilst China Airlines used milder terms and framed the new policy as a suggestion. I like that. EVA Air announced a ban on using these battery banks, which is going to be effective from the 1st of March this year. And they suggested alternatives of charging mobile devices before boarding the plane or using charging ports available on board. Battery banks have long received criticism for their safety concerns, with multiple incidents reported for overheating and flaming of the device during use. The safety risk raises concern for aviation safety as it is a common item people carry on board. It's hoped that with refined regulations, airlines can prevent incidents of a similar nature from recurring. Wow. I was going to ask you, Andy, obviously all the training you have to do with your airline regarding, fire extinguishing and precautions. Do you have sort of specific training for thermal runaway of these sort of batteries?
Absolutely. This is something, I mean, I've been flying too long now. This has been introduced whilst I've been flying. There's a specific checklist for thermal runaways. And now, of course, we have iPads and everything else as electronic flight bags. We've got these devices in the flight deck, multiple devices as well. So we do have procedures in place for how to deal with them. There's checklists. It's basically get it underwater, get rid of the oxygen so that the fire can't continue. And we do training on it as well. In the simulator as well, funny enough, we can create scenarios where this occurs. In this part of the world where EVA operate as well, there's a lot of manufacturers of these power banks that don't have the quality control that reputable companies do. I mean, would you buy one off AliExpress or Temu or a market? No, you wouldn't. You'd want one that...
Carlos would probably, but
he's absolutely mad if he would then, because you don't know the quality of this equipment that you're buying, and it's normally unprotected stuff that causes the sort of runaway. So yeah, just buyer beware, essentially. Now it's interesting that the battery banks themselves don't appear to be banned, just their use on board. I mean, if you're going to ban their use, just ban them outright, to be honest. Which will probably upset a lot of people, but just buy another one at the other end. They're not that expensive, are they?
Also, most airlines, when you fly long haul nowadays, or even the short haul airlines, have USB ports where you can plug your charger in and charge your phone.
Yeah, and EVA will have them on board, definitely.
I don't think the problem is the onboard aspect to it, though, is it? It's more when you want it the other end, as you say. I think.
Yeah, when you want it at the other end, but that's the risk. Buy a decent one, and then this will stop happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I actually had one on a coach go into the whole thermal runaway thing, and that was one of the. Do you remember? Was it EE or BT or someone like that were giving them away?
Little green tubular ones.
Yeah,
BT.
And they were giving them away, and we had one go literally into full thermal runaway in the coach, and I just picked it up with a fire blanket basically, and then just sort of took it outside essentially. But oh my goodness, the smell was out of this world. But and the amount of smoke from this tiny little, I mean, I'm not joking. He says trying to show something visual on an audio podcast, but it must have been about sort of 20,
I remember they weren't very big. I had a warehouse full of them.
20 centimetres absolute max, as I say. But I mean, the smoke that this little thing chucked out when it went into full runaway mode was just insane.
Yeah, there are places where you can buy branded ones, which
yes, not Temu.
No, yes. And I do have 3 very good ones that are branded ones, actually, from a reputable supplier.
Yeah, we'll be the judge of that.
I did. Talking about stuff like that, I did tell you about the time that I bought a charging plug off one of those websites, didn't I?
No.
This is just an example for you. I got it. It arrived in the post, and I thought, this is quite light. This is very light for what it is. So I opened it up. There was nothing inside.
No.
I mean, it was £1.50, so I should have known, really. But I just thought, I'll get it and see what it's like. Yeah, so just be aware out there.
Rubbish is the word. Wow.
No, sorry, Andy. Yeah, you've got the next story, and moving back to the UK.
Yes, this one is from insidermedia.com. Aviation regulator hails consumer benefits from Gatwick expansion plans, even if Heathrow gets new runway. There are benefits to customers of a Gatwick airport expansion despite the potential of a third runway at Heathrow, the aviation regulator said. The Civil Aviation Authority made the comments as it announced support for the West Sussex Airport's proposed new commitments over the next 4 years. Transport Secretary Heidi Alexander has a deadline of Thursday for a decision on whether to approve Gatwick's plans to bring its emergency runway into routine use. This would enable the airport to be used by 100,000 more flights per year. Chancellor Rachel Reeves gave her backing for Heathrow's third runway project in a speech on growth last month. The CEA said, "We have considered the implications of the recent government announcement in relation to the development of a third runway at Heathrow Airport. Gatwick's airline and passenger base is significantly different from that using Heathrow. We remain of the view that there are likely to be benefits to consumers in expanding capacity in Gatwick, including in relation to meeting the demands of passengers in the choice of destinations, enhanced competitive pressure on airlines, and the greater resilience of airport infrastructure." On Wednesday, the CAA published its final proposals to accept new commitments from Gatwick for the 4 years from the start of the 2025-26 financial year. This includes a price cap that limits how much Gatwick can charge airlines. Under the proposal, the maximum increase in the cap for the first 2 years of the period would be CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, which is a measure of inflation, minus 1%, and CPI plus 0% for the final 2 years. The airport also plans to change service quality targets and rebates with a focus on areas of operation that would have been problematic in recent years, the CAA said. This would involve an enhanced measure on air traffic control performance and the introduction of financial incentives for improving some special assistance services. Selina Chadha, Group Director of Consumers and Markets at the CAA, said, "Our focus is always to deliver in the interests of consumers while supporting growth, investment and efficiency. Aviation plays a vital role in the UK economy, and accepting Gatwick Airport's commitments will see benefits for passengers, airlines and the airport." The CAA's final proposals are based on Gatwick continuing to make progress with the expansion project, and the regulator expects to set out its final decision in May or June. Well, there we are. It'd be very good if they can use the second runway more.
Why don't they use it more now, and is it because of because they are quite close together, or?
Yeah, they're too close together to run dual ops procedures. You can't do it. But since the advent of GPS approaches and stuff like that, it's much easier to use that paved surface now for landings, which has made a big difference. But it's very true. There was a point in there about air traffic control performance. That's the big thing that has let Gatwick down over recent years. The lack of controllers and the reduction in flow rate due to that has caused significant delays at very busy peak times of the day and year. So hopefully they get that in order. That'll make people happier.
Have you flown into Gatwick yourself, Andy, a few times, or?
Yeah, many times, yeah. It's just your big old airport.
A busy airport, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, be interesting to see as well, like you're saying that story, what happens at Heathrow. I think we've been talking about this whole runway thing for, blimey, how many years, Nev? 2 or 3 years?
Well,
30 years.
Yes,
30 years plus.
The proposal was before the year 2000, wasn't it? Originally. Going back
I think I'll be retired before we see a third runway there.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, let's say that approval was given with all the difficulty there's going to be with that. It's 10 years away, minimum.
Absolute minimum, yeah.
So I think that's extremely optimistic. And because of world events, you just never know what's going to happen next. I obviously hope we do not have another 9/11 or anything bad, or a COVID and all the rest of it. But these world events like that have a massive effect on travel and aviation specifically. And suddenly you can end up with far too much capacity and far too many pilots and far too many aircraft. But unfortunately, history has told us there's always something's going to happen at some point. And that's a big blow to those big infrastructure projects, of course.
Moving on to the next story, and I'm sure pretty much everyone would have seen this on the social medias. It made big news this week. It's from NewIndianExpress.com. Bomb threat forces American Airlines flight to divert to Rome mid-journey from New York to Delhi. An American Airlines flight en route from New York, JFK International Airport, to Delhi was forced to make an emergency landing in Rome following a mid-air bomb threat. The Boeing 787-9 carrying 280 passengers was diverted from its course over the Caspian Sea before heading westward towards Italy. According to flight tracking data, flight AA292 took off from New York at approximately 8:30 p.m. on Saturday for its scheduled 14-hour journey to the Indian capital. However, 10 hours into the flight, the aircraft executed an abrupt turn near the Black Sea, reversing its path before heading towards Rome Fiumicino's airport. Upon nearing Italian airspace, the plane was reportedly escorted by Italian fighter jets as a precautionary measure. It landed safely in Rome at around 5:30 p.m. local time. While authorities didn't disclose the precise nature of the security alert, sources suggest that the bomb threat was received mid-flight, necessitating an immediate assessment by airline and security officials. The decision to divert to Rome instead of opting for a closer landing site has drawn attention from aviation experts, attributing it to American Airlines establishing operational bases in the Italian capital. A spokesperson for Rome's Leonardo da Vinci International Airport, Francesco Garibaldi, said he did not give the reason for the change in flight plans. However, they said that security checks were being done. By landing at a facility with existing security infrastructures and airline support, authorities could ensure a controlled investigation while minimising disruption for passengers. Despite the severity of the threat, the aircraft's prolonged flight duration before diversion indicates that officials may have deemed the risk level manageable. They said that they deboarded the aircraft, and huge credit to the crew for the handling of the situation so well. Everyone was calm, says Yash Raj, the data scientist who was on the flight. The incident adds to a growing list of aviation security threats in recent months, with an increase in bomb threats targeting commercial airlines. Authorities in the US and Europe are expected to conduct a joint investigation into the credibility and origin of the threat. Passengers on board were undergoing security checks, and the aircraft was being thoroughly inspected before any further travel arrangements were made. Meanwhile, American Airlines assured that all necessary precautions were taken and being taken to ensure the safety of travellers, and further details may follow. So, yeah, get quite a way into his flight this before he was before he turned around and was diverted. So. Yeah, I think that's not the thing you want to hear on the ACAR system, Andy, when you're at 38,000 feet above the sea somewhere.
It depends how the threat was transmitted. It could have been via ATC or ACARS or something like that. But my immediate thought, as in this article, why did they trek all the way to Rome when you had somewhere like Istanbul? That's got plenty of facilities there, but they probably didn't class this as a massive threat. You've got to remember, every bag has to go through scanning, thanks to Lockerbie. Every bag has to be reconciled with a passenger on board, thanks to Lockerbie. With aviation, we learn from the past, unfortunately, and we try to make changes to stop things happening before they become a problem. And I think they'll have assessed this, because every airline has procedures to assess a threat to see if it's credible or not. They probably assessed it and thought, we can't continue this flight, so now let's get to somewhere where we've got crew who can actually, and aircraft, such as Rome, because American fly quite a bit into Rome, and we can get the passengers on the way, and we'll just keep this aircraft on the ground. If there's anybody we want to look at them, we will look at them. So it looks like a ridiculous divert, but operationally it made more sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's pointless landing somewhere where you've got no help or infrastructure there in place for that airline or aircraft. Be a bit like an A380 landing at Norwich Airport, Matt.
Well, it couldn't, for starters.
It couldn't, yeah.
Well, somebody said you could get one in, but you'd have to dismantle it to take it out.
And the other problem is it doesn't have the required level of fire service. You've got to think about that as well.
Ah, yeah.
So there are certain levels of RFFS that are required based on your aircraft type, size, amount of passengers. Mm. There's lots of things that have to be taken into consideration when diverting for any reason.
Mash is asking in the chat room, Andy, what's the point of the fighter jet aircraft escort?
Well, let's just say if whoever made that threat was on board and tried to do something with the aircraft, then at least they can do something about it pretty pronto.
There we go. Well, they do seem to be getting quite frequent now, though. This is not the first time we've had this in a short while, I should say. We've had a few of these last year, don't we? I think we covered on the show these bomb scares, but
I must admit, I don't remember a lot about them, but that says more about me.
They sometimes don't make the major news.
No, true.
Yeah. So moving on to epic tantrums, Matt, you've got the next story.
Yes, quite. Are you trying to tell me something? Is that why I've got this story? Or Metro.co.uk is the source on this one, and the headline is British man has epic tantrum on airport floor after cocaine fell out of his pocket. Ooh. Oh my. A British tourist has been arrested at an airport in Thailand after cocaine allegedly fell from his pocket during a meltdown. The man, whose identity has not been confirmed, is believed to have flown from Shanghai in China to the island of Phuket in Thailand, where officers pulled him aside. He then appeared to lose control, rampaging through the hall before rolling on the ground. The man's behaviour backfired. Then 4.11 grams of, a very specific number, grams of cocaine allegedly fell from his pocket during the frenzy. He was arrested and taken into custody while awaiting a court hearing. Officers at Phuket International Airport said the powder the man dropped was cocaine. The police officer who was dealing with the issue as part of the immigration checkpoint inspections at the airport said that we charged the tourist with importing a Category 2 narcotic into the country and illegally possessing it. He was handed over to the inquiry officer at the police station nearby for legal action. The cocaine allegedly fell out of the tourist's pocket during a tantrum. Cocaine is classified as Category 2 drug in Thailand. Importers, producers and exporters face jail sentences depending on the amount, with the most severe being life imprisonment.
This reminds me of that programme, I forget what channel it's on now on Freeview. Is it Nothing to Declare, where they're at the airports in Australia? And some of the stuff you see on there that either fall out of people's pockets or end up coming out of people's suitcases are just mind-boggling.
Well, like, I remember seeing one that was like pig's trotters or something in somebody's bag that they brought him. Yeah, a delicacy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be rolling around the floor having a tantrum as well if somebody had taken my 4 grams of coke off us. Oh, sorry, it fell out of his pocket while he was rolling around. Right, got it.
It's quite a strong collection of individuals, shall we say, dealing.
I was going to say that picture. There must be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9,
and always very important. Men in suits standing round outside observing. Obviously, very important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not very inconspicuous if they say, "Come over here, please, want to talk to you," and you start rolling around on the floor. It's quite obvious that you've got something in your pocket.
Yeah,
indeed. Very, very strange way to go about these things.
I'm not a narcotics expert, as you can imagine, but
No.
I'm surprised it's only classed as a Category 2 drug. I mean, goodness knows what Category 1 is, if that's the highest level. Is that ketamine or something like that? I don't know.
Probably something like that.
That's aspirin.
Well, this particular episode has taken quite a turn.
Honestly.
I just don't understand people who carry drugs. I don't understand people who take drugs, to be honest, but especially not, you're going to get caught at some point, especially in an airport. There's sniffer dogs, they're ready to detect that stuff being transported.
And it's places like... It is places like Phuket, as we were talking there, and like Dubai and places like that. I mean, it's well documented that they're not going to be very nice to you if you do get caught carrying these things in. So you just sort of think, I, as you say, I just can't get my head around it. I just can't get my head round why you would risk it that much If you see what I mean, I just can't get my head around it.
I mean, you've only got to see how offended Dubai were about Nev's muff, and that
Fair.
was,
Well, quite. Yeah.
Well, quite
Yeah.
indeed. Durkes says it brings a whole new meaning to a Cat 2 landing. Oh dear.
Ba-bumts.
Yeah, see what you did there. Some guy called Mr. Bounds saying all the gear and no idea.
No,
Never mind.
this
then.
makes me think of the film Train Spotting.
Right.
Anyway,
Like a
Never
good
seen
Celtic. Oh, is it not about trains?
Don't
No.
think so. No.
well, no. Moving on swiftly to the next story. Andy, you've got this one. And, well, could this be the final of this story?
Well, who knows? This is from the independent.co.uk. British team begins potential final search for missing MH370. A British marine robotics company has launched what could be the final search for the Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 over a decade. Has it been that long? After the Boeing 777 vanished. Ocean Infinity's deep water support vessel Armada 7806 has reportedly begun scouring the seabed for the wreck as it attempts to solve one of aviation's biggest mysteries. Marine tracking websites show that the vessel arrived at the new search zone in the Indian Ocean over the weekend, which was reported in The Telegraph. The search mission, 1,200 miles off Perth, Australia, is expected to be the last sent to look for the plane that disappeared almost 11 years ago. Search efforts are understood to have already deployed autonomous underwater vehicles from the Ocean Infinity ship and started scans of the ocean floor. These vehicles, able to descend to a depth of 6 kilometres, are operated via a satellite link from the company's control centre in Southampton and are expected to explore 4 areas identified as potential crash sites by researchers. These vehicles on Ocean Infinity's Armada 7806, built in 2023, are able to spend 4 days submerged, twice as long as their 2018 predecessors. Malaysian Transport Minister Anthony Loke confirmed on Tuesday, which was just yesterday, the 25th of February, that Ocean Infinity had resumed the hunt for the missing aircraft. The new search is focused on 15,000 square kilometre arc in the southern Indian Ocean, based on data including satellite signals and disrupted radio transmissions that Kuala Lumpur found to be credible. In December, the Malaysian government confirmed that the search for the missing passenger jet would resume with Ocean Infinity on a no-find, no-fee agreement. The best time to undertake the search was identified between January and April. Mr. Loke welcomed the search and said they were still finalising the details for the contract to be signed. Nevertheless, we welcome the proactiveness of Ocean Infinity to search for MH370, as this is great news for all of the victims' next of kin. No final agreement has been announced between the government and the company, with Ocean Infinity's current mission, around 6 weeks long, believed to be its own. The Armada 7806, considered the most technically advanced ship of its kind, is likely to search in 3 to 4 hotspots where researchers suggest the plane's wreck of fuselage might be located. And then the vessel is expected to spend up to 6 weeks surveying the area, with a break to restock supplies in Fremantle, Western Australia, which served as the base for previous search operations. And then it just goes on to say that the search area is focused around that earlier. Do we think it's going to be found?
I don't know. I mean, they've said a lot before. I think we've said it on the show that if they did find it, I think you said, Andy, on a previous show, that the flight recorders would probably be about as much use as a chocolate ashtray.
Yeah, they'll be destroyed now by the ocean. They're not designed to last this long. Wasn't it on Mauritania as well? A piece of the flapper on and washed up as well at some point.
Yeah.
It was an island like something like that, which had the correct serial number for the aircraft. So it definitely crashed somewhere around there. I just don't know what finding bits of wreckage is going to achieve. It might give some solace to the families that they know where the final resting place is, but there's not going to be much else found.
I think that's the thing, though, isn't it? To be honest with you, Andy, I think this is more about trying to find some form of closure, isn't it? So you can just sort of, because there's so many conspiracy theories doing the rounds and floating around and all that kind of thing, and I can only imagine what that's doing to the well-being of the families who are involved in all that. So in many ways, I hope they do find something, just so that there can, everybody can draw a line under it, and then everybody can sort of get on with their lives, really.
Dirk,
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, Doug S makes a good comment in the chat room, actually. He says that they just wanted to show off their fancy-looking boat. And I must admit, Matt, you put the pictures up on during the story there, and it is one of the weirdest-looking ships I think I've seen ever. I mean, I love the colour. Don't get me wrong, the colour's amazing, but...
well, I mean, it's a ship with a very specific purpose and task, isn't it? So it
does look quite incredible, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's a stunning bit of kit.
Yeah,
it is very jazzy.
Yeah. Well, and let's hope all these new bells and whistles that are on it are able to, achieve the potentially impossible.
All you have to do is find one piece, and then the rest will all be found.
Yeah.
In the area.
Yeah.
Who knows? We might be covering this story again later this year with good news. Who knows? Nev, you've got the next story, and good news for me, looks like.
Well, someone's been a bit cheeky here by giving me this story. I'll have a word with them when we finish the show. It's on the BBC news website. And it says the over 50s flying high after airline appeal. Well, an older generation of adventurers are finding a new career in the skies by joining an initiative launched by EasyJet to train as cabin crew at Gatwick Airport. The Budget Airlines campaign hopes to encourage people over 50, career changers and those looking to unretire to apply and take up the new challenge. Get out of that armchair and get into that aircraft. Life is supposed to be an adventure, and this certainly is, says 65-year-old retired grandfather Race Welsh. EasyJet said 74% of over 50s in the UK that it asked said it was the perfect time for a new career, and 67% considered returning to work. The number of new recruits aged over 50 has more than doubled, and those joining as cabin crew over 60 has quadrupled, EasyJet said. Lisa Rogerson, who has taken up the initiative, said, I'm a military wife, so I've kind of been around, brought up 3 children. So I went to the open day, and to be honest, it was amazing. It was almost a new start at our age, and that doesn't normally happen. Of the 2,000 people surveyed by the airline, 71% believe that their age would stop them from being accepted for the job of cabin crew, while 16% believe that they could not apply above the age of 30. Francesca Hicks said, I was actually living in Cornwall for 34 years, but both my children left home, so I decided it's my turn now and moved up to London to find myself a new career. It was only a few weeks before the new recruits finished their training at Gatwick Airport. They said they could not wait to embark on their new career. Personally speaking, I don't think I'd be very suited to that job. I think I'd be up in front of HR most weeks with various complaints against me for being, how should I say, helping the passengers on and off the aircraft properly and telling them what to do and stuff
efficiently,
like that.
I think is the word.
Efficiently, that's it, yes. Yeah.
If there was a job in aviation that would get you out of retirement, what is it?
I'd quite like to be the fella that does the pushback, so ground crew. I think I'd quite like to do that job. I'd quite like to do, the planning departments, driving a desk and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think interfacing with the public, I don't think I'm well suited to it now. Many years ago when I worked in a shop, I was. But it's the irritation factor for me would be too high, I'm afraid.
If you want to get some practice as a tug driver, then get yourself a caravan, attach it up to the latest version of your banana that you've got. Oh, it's not a banana anymore, is it?
No.
And start driving backwards down country lanes. See, and if you can do that, then you can be pushback crew, no problem.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking of is use those Mototoc things that they've got at Heathrow. So with the remote control,
right,
and the thing just does itself.
I have to say
that's too easy, Nev.
I have to say that is one of my very few superpowers is trailer reversing. I don't know why, but I don't know whether it's just many years of growing up on a farm and all that kind of thing. But that's actually one of the few things in life I'm actually quite good at is reversing a trailer. Yeah.
A new career
Or
for you
caravan.
then, Matt.
Yeah. I'll give it a go. It probably pays more than what I'm paid at the moment.
Now, I'm guessing, Andy, that all jokes aside, as long as you pass your medical and you can, I'd imagine that the age is not an issue with this particular career.
For cabin crew? No, not at
Yeah.
all. No, I know some cabin crew are in their 70s.
Wow.
They love it.
Yeah. I guess you have to. I mean, it's quite a physical job though at times, isn't it? I mean, I guess you need to be in fine fettle, shall we say, for said role.
Yeah, you've got to get through the medical. You can get through the medical, and it's fine.
There's hope for me yet.
There was the good bit I would like about that job is during the safety procedures and some of the things I've seen on various programs in the past is that as cabin crew, in an emergency situation, you're told to assert your authority on the passengers. I like the sound of that very much.
Oh, that is my favourite part of the job as a captain, asserting my authority. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. Lovely.
Oh,
anyway,
my word.
shall we move on before we all end up in HR?
Yes, this is coming to us from express.co.uk, and we have a interesting video to watch at the end of this story as well. 3 chilling words heard on radio before Southwest Airlines near crash. Now, this is fairly fresh news that happened this week. Pilots of a Southwest Airlines flight were forced to abort landing at Chicago Midway's airport after spotting another aircraft crossing the runway in a terrifying near miss that was caught on video. The Southwest Airlines flight 2504 arriving from Omaha, Nebraska was about to touch down at 8:50 a.m. on Tuesday when the crew had to quickly pull up and climb back to 3,000 feet to avoid a collision. The aircraft had briefly touched the runway before suddenly ascending again in a terrifying moment captured in radio transmissions, which the Southwest pilot said going around Southwest. Seconds later, the pilot could be heard questioning air traffic control with the chilling 3 words, "How'd that happen?" According to the FAA, the second aircraft, a Flexjet Bombardier Challenger 3500 private jet, entered the runway without authorization. The private jet was set to depart for Knoxville, Tennessee, when it was unexpectedly crossed into the Southwest Plains landing path. The FAA, the National Transportation Safety Board, have launched an investigation into the incident. A spokesperson for Southwest Airlines confirmed that the flight crew followed safety procedures and landed without incident after the go-around. Nothing is more important to Southwest than the safety of our customers and employees, the airline said in a statement. Flexjet, the private jet operator, acknowledged the incident, saying Flexjet adheres to the highest safety standards and we are conducting a thorough investigation. Any action to rectify and ensure the highest safety standards will be taken, they said. We have now on the show the video, including ATC audio, to bring to you on the show. Thanks to the awesome team over at VAS Aviation over on YouTube. If you don't follow them, you need to follow them. So let's play that video.
Flexjet 560 signature with Tango taxi.
Flexjet 560, runway, actually departure frequency is 119.35. Runway 22 left. What taxi are you coming out of?
We're over at Whiskey, Flexjet 560.
Flexjet 560, roger, taxi via Foxtrot and hold short of runway 22 right. Plan for runway 22 left.
All right, plan for 22 left, Foxtrot Whiskey, Flexjet 560. Tango, Flexjet 560, just want to confirm our taxi instructions for 22 left from Signature.
Yeah, where on the ramp are you, sir?
We're at Signature Aviation at Alpha taxi.
Okay, taxi Alpha, Foxtrot, hold short of 22 right.
Alpha Fox, hold short, 22 right, Flexjet 560.
Flexjet 560, turn left on runway 4 left, cross runway 31 left, and hold short of runway 31 center.
All right, left on 4 left, cross 22 or 13 center, Flexjet 560.
Exit 560 negative. Cross runway 31 left. Hold short runway 31 center.
Cross 31 left, hold short 31 center, flex jet 560.
Southwest 20.
Southwest 2504 going around.
2504, roger that, climb maintain 3000.
Southwest 2504 up to 3000.
Flex jet 560, hold your position there.
Hold position, flex jet 560.
Flex jet 560, continue across the hold short of hotel.
Cross hold short hotel, flex jet 560.
So 2504, one able, turn left heading 220.
Left heading 220, Southwest 2504.
Flex jet 560, your instructions are to hold short of runway 31 center.
That's Tower Southwest 2504, how'd that happen?
So 2504, climbing 3000, contact Chicago approach 128.2.
128.2, Southwest 2504.
Flex jet 560, possible pilot deviation. Advise you contact Midway Tower at a number when you're ready to copy.
Flex jet 560, ready to copy.
Flex jet 560, it's 773-884.
Flex jet 560, 773-884.
Flex jet 560, read back correct.
I mean,
there we go. I mean, the video the video looks bad enough. It could have ended a lot different to that. Andy, I know you've got a few thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's an interesting system of control in aircraft in the United States. So, firstly, the ramps. The ramps are all independently owned. Air traffic control have no control over them. That's why the guys ask, "Oh, which ramp are you on? Where are you coming from?" That would never happen in Europe. Secondly, that is a very confusing taxiway system as well. So I can see why the guys got confused. But the big one for me is the only person who should be controlling any traffic on the runway that's taken off landing or crossing is the tower controller. And they've got this system in the States where the ground controls that bit of taxiway. So in Europe, you would be told to hold short and contact the tower, and then the tower would give the clearance to cross and then hand them back over to ground. And that happens in all of the major airports that I've ever flown into. So, which is why the Southwest guy was asking, how did that happen? Because he can't hear that communication that's occurring on the ground, which sort of, it destroys his situational awareness a bit, because both aircraft are not on the same frequency when they're both going to be using the same bit of tarmac. So there's a massive chance of a huge error, which just nearly happened there, of a crash. And I think they really need to reform their system in the States and bring it more in line with ICAO standards, because they've gone off in their own direction with stuff. Really, their RT over there. Now, this is me having a rant now. Their RT is terrible, in my opinion. It doesn't follow what's accepted in the rest of the world. Okay, most countries have little changes from the ICAO standard, but there needs to be better standardization, and the system needs to be brought up to date with what's expected in a busy modern airport. So there we go, rant over. I'm not sure if the camera angle made it look like they were closer than they were, to be honest. But in terms of the go-around as well, we're ready for it. We treat every landing as a go-around.
yeah.
We should be ready up until the point of reverser deployment that we're going to go around. So the guys did a brilliant job. They did exactly what's expected of them.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Andy, when do you think this split frequency stuff came into operation in the US? Is this a recent development, or has it been like that for some time, do you think?
No, it's been like that for a very long time, but now traffic levels are getting so high. And you also notice, well, when that controller reeled off that set of taxi instructions, those guys didn't sound particularly familiar with the airport. I'd be asking, right, can you say that again slowly, please, so I can actually understand what you're saying? There seems to be this massive urgency in some controllers that they just want to blurt everything out. And the whole point is you need the people on the other end to understand what you're asking of them. Because they've got to remember as well, and you see loads of times of controllers shouting at pilots. They're there to provide a service to pilots. They're there to help and keep everybody separated. They're not... Ultimately, the pilots are in control of where the aircraft goes, so they really need to work together better. But I don't know. I think it's been like that for a very long time, and now we're starting to see the system creak as the traffic levels increase.
Yeah, phenomenal, isn't it? And I couldn't agree more with regard to even with pilots speaking English as their first language, and perhaps they fly in and out of there all the time, although these fellas didn't sound that familiar with the airport. They've just got to slow it down. The delivery of taxi instructions, even if it's a conditional taxi, hold at Alpha and we'll give you more, instructions after that, or whatever it is. But yeah, this constant blurting out of taxi instructions on a complicated runway and taxi system such as Midway, it's just asking for trouble, isn't it?
And it's really unfortunate runway designations as well. Runway 13 and runway 31. Because you get, at that point, it's very easy to confuse the two. So yeah, but we're really really lucky that they didn't get the wheels on the ground and the reversers out and then they entered the runway. Because that could have been a very different story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on then to the next story. Thanks for that, Andy. Excellent.
Sorry, I had to rant about it because I saw it when I sent it in the group chat the other day, and I started digging into it, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is an accident waiting to happen."
Yeah, indeed. Let's hope lessons are learnt from this, all being well then. So the next story is Qatar Airways is equipping Boeing 777s with Starlink. It's timesaerospace.aero is the source for this one. This comes 4 months after the airline launched the world's first Boeing 777 Starlink-enabled flight, and 2 months after surpassing its initial 2024 target of 12 installations by upgrading 15 aircraft with Starlink connectivity. Qatar Airways has accelerated its Starlink rollout, cutting installation time per aircraft from 3 or 2 days to just 9.5 hours, reducing the retrofit by nearly 3/4 of the initial timeline. The airline had initially planned to complete the installation in 2 years. However, Qatar Airways has optimized its process and will complete the Boeing 777 fleet rollout in the second quarter of 2025. This will allow more passengers to stay connected free of charge throughout their journey, streaming their favorite shows and live sports, enjoying online gaming, or working seamlessly at 35,000 feet. Qatar Airways Group Chief Executive Officer Badr Mohammed Al Mir said that we are delivering on our commitment to provide our passengers the best in-flight connectivity at an unprecedented pace. In just 4 months since launching the world's first Boeing 777 Starlink equipped flight, we have already installed this groundbreaking service on 30 aircraft, far exceeding our initial targets. This reflects the commendable efficiency and dedication of our team. Starlink Wi-Fi is a game changer for our passengers, who will enjoy uninterrupted connectivity on even more routes.
I've not had a go at this, but I've not heard bad things about this at all, Matt. Starlink.
There are issues with it, I have to say. It is, if you are doing what I call constant streaming, it is a problem because they do drop out quite regularly. So you or I would not notice if you were streaming a film or
because it buffers,
because it's buffering significantly in advance. But if you're trying to do something called nearly live, for example, the connection that you use when you do the radio, for example, you're on anything between 9 and 11 second delay depending on what's going on there, and the reason why that's there is because it allows for a bit of it can not be sending or receiving for a few moments and it won't have an impact on the stream. I use a slightly different system here, which means that I have a 0.01 second delay into the studio. And that wouldn't work on Starlink, basically, because there are sort of like packets and refreshes and all that kind of thing. It is a great system. It does enable you to have internet literally anywhere, and I mean literally anywhere that it can find a satellite. So yeah, where if you're on the plane and stuff, you probably won't notice. It is a good system, but it does, like any system, it does have its flaws.
I think Captain Jeff uses this in his RV. For his internet. I have to say, Nev, you obviously on your flight that you had, you were able to send us as a team, a video while you were in flight. I'm guessing that with the Wi-Fi connectivity on board the aircraft was fairly brisk.
Yeah, it was actually remarkably good. You paid for it in advance, and then you just scanned the QR code, and it knew that it was you at the seat and all the rest of it. And it was a very reasonable connection speed. It does say that it doesn't allow for streaming, though, which was true. So I couldn't look at any YouTube stuff or any streamed content. But for certainly sending files and receiving files, it was very quick. Yeah, really good.
Well, and I wonder if that's a decision on their part to not zap, not have people zapping the bandwidth for those who are sending WhatsApp videos and voice notes. And
yeah, I think that's exactly it. Because if you get 250 people streaming stuff, you're going to run out of bandwidth fairly quickly, aren't you, really?
You are. Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Now, Nev, you've got one little last story here that I think Nick popped in the notes this afternoon. I saw this on X, and I think it was on Facebook as well. This happened, and this is not a situation I think many people want to be in on board a flight, especially a long haul flight.
Well, no, I had to do a double take on this because this sounds very similar to something that happened to one of my former work colleagues about 10 years ago, and I'll tell you about that at the end of the story. But it's on the BBC website. It says that an Australian couple had spoken of the traumatic moment the body of a dead passenger was placed next to them on a Qatar Airways flight. Mitchell Ring and Jennifer Collin, who were travelling to Venice for a dream holiday, told Australia's Channel 9 a woman had died in the aisle beside them during the flight from Melbourne to Doha. The couple say that cabin crew placed her corpse, covered in blankets, next to Mr. Ring for the remaining 4 hours of the flight without offering to move him, despite there being empty seats. Qatar Airways said it apologised for any inconvenience or distress this incident may have caused, adding that it was in the process of contacting passengers. The couple said that they had not been contacted or offered support by Qatar Airways or Qantas, the airline through which they booked the flight. They said that there should be a protocol to ensure that passengers on board were looked after in such situations. Well, Mr. Ring told Channel 9's current affairs programme External that staff had responded in no time when the woman collapsed, but that unfortunately the lady couldn't be saved, which was pretty heartbreaking to watch. He said that the cabin crew had tried to move her body towards business class, but she was quite a large lady and they couldn't get her through the aisle. Mr. Ring said the crew had seen seats were available beside him and they said, "Can you move over, please?" And I just said, "Yes, no problem." But then they placed the lady in the chair that I was in. Whilst Miss Collin was able to move to an empty seat nearby, Mr. Ring said that he had not been given the option to do so by the cabin crew, even though there were vacant seats. When the plane landed 4 hours later, he said that passengers were asked to stay put whilst medical staff and police came on board. He said that ambulance officers had then started pulling blankets off the woman and he had seen her face. The couple said that there needs to be a duty of care for customers and staff. We should be contacting to make sure, do you need some support? Do you need some counselling? They said. Miss Collin called the experience traumatic and said that we totally understand that we can't hold the airline responsible for the poor lady's death, but there has to be a protocol to look after the customers on board. In a statement, Qatar Airways said, "First and foremost, our thoughts are with the family of the passenger who sadly passed away on board our flight. We apologise for any inconvenience or distress this incident may have caused and are in the process of contacting passengers in line with our policies and procedures. A Qantas spokesman said the process for handling incidents on board an aircraft like this is managed by the operating airline, which in this case is Qatar Airways. That's obviously a very tragic turn of events there. The reason I mentioned it was because, as I mentioned earlier, one of my work colleagues from about 10 years ago mentioned to me an almost identical situation where they had been on a flight to South Africa, and I think they were going via Dubai for a holiday there. And it was one of the Middle Eastern airline carriers, and I can't remember which one it was, so I'm not going to mention them. But it was an almost identical situation where one of them was asked to move seat so that somebody's corpse could be placed next to them for the next 2.5 or 3 hours. Absolutely unbelievable. But there has to be protocol for this stuff. It has to be in the cabin crew training, surely, because unfortunately, people do lose their lives during a flight.
Yeah, and it happens more often than you think. It's quite a regular occurrence. Now, these people could have, this guy could have just got up and moved himself, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he was hoping for that business class seat that they were going to put her in, but they couldn't get her down the aisle. But it's tragic. It's horrible. And obviously, these people are not used to dealing with death. But is it really a story for the news?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you in many ways. I was reading that story there. I do feel like somebody's failed somewhere, because I do feel like it could have been handled differently.
Absolutely. They will have a procedure for a death on board. Every airline has a procedure. And there's obviously... You've got to remember that there's a psychological effect on all the crew as well. But they did have 4 hours to sort this out. So, it's a bit of give and take, isn't it, on both sides? But very tragic for the woman and her family.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. But also, that concept. I'm not sure how well I would cope if I was in that situation with somebody where a body has essentially been placed next to me. I don't know how particularly comfortable I would feel about it. It would be a wave of emotions and stuff, I think, that I'd be going through. I don't mind saying I would probably be very, very distressed if that happened to me. And I'd like to think I'm a sensible sort of like grown up. I'm not stupid. I know that, death happens and all this kind of thing. But to be sat for 4 hours next to
it's a bit much.
I think so. And I'm certainly, from conversations I've had with friends and that who are cabin crew, there's a very specific sort of like protocol in place for these situations. And again, if the flight was completely full, then I could understand why, but I'm just surprised people weren't moved around, so at least I don't know.
Yeah. Not the greatest flight in the world, but no. Right, that's where we bring the news to a close. So it is time for the next part of the show, and as always, we hand things over to Nev to introduce what is for a lot of the listeners the favourite part of the show.
It's the highlight of the whole show, isn't it, really? It's the Retro Airline Ad of the Week. And this week we go back to 1974 and to an airline that ceased operations back in 2001, but really did love the DC-10. Here we go.
The DC-10 is here. The McDonnell Douglas DC-10, powered by General Electric. A better way to fly. On board the Sabena DC-10, you'll find the space you need. You'll notice from the moment you go aboard, handy space for your hand baggage, hang-up space for your coat, even space to walk around, as if you were in a house with separate rooms. One room for first-class passengers, and 2 big comfortable rooms in economy class. Sabena's DC-10 has all the space you need to relax to your choice of music. to enjoy a little traditional Belgian hospitality. To eat as if you were in a 4-star restaurant.
Bon appétit, monsieur.
You've even space to stretch out and sleep in comfort. The DC-10 is probably the quietest jetliner you've ever flown in.
Sir, we are landing.
It's a better way to fly. Sabena's new DC-10. The space plane.
I mean, wow.
Wow. I mean, that is the era of flying.
Although, unfortunately, of course, the airline concerned, with the acronym that it has, people always used to say, "Such a bad experience, never again." But I've only flown on Sabena once before.
I mean, and my mind is melted by what Andy pointed out while we were watching that, where he's got an air vent in the seat.
Yes,
I've never seen that before.
No.
Never.
But what an interior. What an interior.
Beautiful. All that room, all that space.
Can you imagine?
And all that wine.
Yeah.
And the food.
I mean, how many bums on seats would there have been in that particular configuration? Can you?
DC-10 would be, what, 290, 300, and, well, 300 plus?
Not in that configuration.
I was going to say, not in
Well,
that.
not in that configuration. No. Probably 10 in that configuration, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I dread to think how much that was. But, yeah.
What that was a whole, honestly, it was such a different age of flying, back then.
I know. Never mind. A lot noisier.
No,
though,
we
as
had
well.
We had the DC-10 quiz last time, Carlos. What model was that one?
Oh, was that the 30?
Yeah, why?
Because it's slightly, is it the stretch? Is it stretched? Is it the 30, the stretch one?
got an extra wheel, isn't it? Landing gear.
Yeah, that's it. It's got the middle landing gear.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But I noticed that someone did put in the chat room during that was playing out. It was well, I can't find where it was now. Yeah, James Taylor made a very valid point actually. The DC-10 with a self-opening cargo door. Yes, what a scandal that was. That was quite a blot on the DC-10's history.
Well, it certainly harmed sales massively.
Yeah.
A very significant design flaw. I like Sturman's comment, though. Why did the DC-10 commercial call it the future flying? Because in the 70s, 3 engines and a smoking lounge sounded modern. Absolutely, I agree.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, there's only one, I think it was one airline. I know the 380s or the Emirates have the lounge area on board the aircraft, but there's not many airliners that have a separate kind of lounge. I think Virgin do, don't they? Do they have it on the Dream? I know they had them on the 747 when they had the 747s. BA, I don't think BA didn't have the lounges, did they?
No.
On board?
No.
A whole different time that was. Eh? Bring back that kind of space from that time.
Sure.
Right. Moving forward into the future. For our next special part of the show. And obviously, as we know, Nev had a very nice trip on board. What was a very nice aircraft, Nev?
Yes, it was. And we're going to show you a bit of video as well. I was lucky enough to go on the Finnair's A350-900 on Friday for a long weekend to Helsinki. It wasn't really the flight to and from HEL at all, although that is the 3-letter designator. If you've not had a chance to go on the A350, either the Dash 900 that the Finnair operate also, or the Dash 1000 that some of the other airlines operate, it is an incredibly quiet aircraft and really, really nice. So I was going to get Matt to run some of the video that I shot. This was the aircraft concerned. absolutely immaculate. It's about 6 years old, and they've got a nice dual camera setup. One at the tail of the aircraft, so you can see the whole aircraft itself, and then one underneath the aircraft, so you can see the nose wheel. Which was really nice. So we're just taxiing out towards the 27 right at Heathrow here, and it's I think if you're afraid of flying at all, if you can see what's going on as you can here, I think it would really help people actually. So it's a really nice addition that they've made, and the quality of the camera is really, really good, and presumably the fellas up in the cockpit are able to select it as well if they want to see that, if there's something going a bit off with the aircraft somewhere. But one of the things that you do notice with this is how quiet it is on departure. I was sitting in row 2, which is on the right hand side of the aircraft, and Mrs. Nev was sitting in the middle. Yeah, this was a really nice place to be, and also the Finnair crew as well. Really nice guys and girls, and we've flown with them a few times before, certainly when they were doing wet leasing for BA as well, which was great on their A321 aircraft. Down to the Canary Islands and to Faro and what have you, and here we go. But I've kept the volume sort of fairly quiet so you can actually hear me, but it is not noisy at all. And because the aircraft's so big, a bit like, it's not as big as the 380 obviously, but you don't get the real sensation of speed until you actually start looking at the camera. And I think we'll give the skipper sort of 8 out of 10 for this centerline tracking, probably something like that. Not much more than that.
I'd give him 9 out of 10. That's very good. It's a big aeroplane.
Well,
it's a lot of chance.
Okay, fair enough. fair point. And we're off. So really, really nice place to be. Fantastic crew on board. Really nice meal. It was just a great flight, and it's a 3-hour flight, or nearly 3-hour flight, but you'd never know it. It's one of those places where time just seems to evaporate. And here we are on finals going into Helsinki, where it is a bit colder, as you may have noticed, and it was extremely windy on the approach as well. So I had the sort of auto stabilization on the camera, so you don't quite get the feeling of how lumpy it was. But the fellas did a nice job here. A bit of a crosswind going on here, as you can see. If you need to look at the video version of this, obviously, if you're listening to the audio podcast. So bit of left hand down into the wind here, as you can see. But this was it's one of those days in Helsinki where it was only sort of 0 or 1 degree, but there was just that horrific wind chill that you get in that part of the world, which means it was a bit cold when you got off the aircraft, and also when you got out the other side as well. But again, same thing here, really, really quiet and very, very nice to be. I think the other thing, as we were saying earlier on, is that the Wi-Fi coverage on this was absolutely brilliant. So not for streaming, but for sending and receiving files, or for downloading podcasts and that sort of stuff. It does a really good job. I can just imagine if this had been at Heathrow, they'd probably shut the runway because it was too snowy. But this is Scandinavia, well, they just get on with it, and it's a very safe operation. And the de-icing facility was just enormous as well, and that seemed to be a very slick operation too. So that was equally nice to see that. Here we go on short final now to runway 22 right, I think this is, as you can see, a bit of snow, a bit of ice on the runway, but doesn't matter. We're down. And I think that the fellas did a nice job up front, even getting the full marks from Mr. Andrew Wilson there as well.
Yeah, that was lovely cross landing technique.
That's saying something,
very good.
So, so that was nice. And there's some nice video in a second where we just taxi off the runway, and you can actually see how quite snowy it is there as well. Especially if you look at the front wheels as we just taxi off the runway here. But no, it's great crew, great environment to be in, and it was all very efficient. I've always found that with both SAS and Finnair is that everything's just done really nicely. I think BA could take some lessons from Finnair about how to board an aircraft as well, I have to say. The guys and girls did a very nice job of that. And we just come around the corner just to taxi onto stand in a second, and then we got on a bus to go to the terminal, which was equally as efficient, but really, really good. And if you ever get the chance to go on the A350, it is a remarkably nice aircraft, and it's particularly well equipped in the way Finnair have done it, and even actually in the economy seats and their premium economy, it's still a very nice product.
What now? Sorry.
The things that I've heard about, but I've never actually sat in it. So. But there we go. And then on the way back, there's a couple of still shots, Matt, of the Finnair lounge. That's a very nice place to be as well. So at Helsinki Airport, Finnair have got their own business class lounge, which we went into on the way back. And it's just typical Scandinavian design, beautifully laid out, lovely food, nice people serving you and everything. It was really, really nice. So overall, I can thoroughly recommend that. As I say, for nearly a 3-hour flight, it didn't seem like it at all. The time just flew by. And the food quality on there was great. And that's the bar in the Finnair lounge as well. So
very swanky, isn't it?
It's very nice. Yeah.
Question there. I was going to say, question there. BA, they co-share with Finnair, didn't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So obviously, based on the fact that you've flown business class with BA, and you've obviously you've flown on Finnair with BA, how is the actual seat itself and the actual layout and stuff differ? Who's got it done? Who's got it nailed?
Yeah, well, because BA don't operate that route anyway. It's only Finnair that operate it between Heathrow and Helsinki. Of course, that's the A350. Of course, is what they would normally use on the Far East and the Asian flights as well. The Peking flights and all the rest of it. So actually, this sector is one of the shortest that they do. I would say because BA would probably operate an A321 on that.
All right.
Sector, I would imagine. It's a world of difference between that and the A350. Although, of course, as you know, when we went on the A350 1000 on the way back from Dubai, that was very nice too, wasn't it?
Nev, is the A350 a regular on that route for them?
There's only one a day, so you have to choose the time that you want to go if you want to get on a 350. So they normally operate A3. Actually, they operate A319s, 20s, and 21s during the day. But 2 flights, one there and one back, are on the A350. So it was a 10:20 in the morning. That's the A350.
I guess they probably do that for training requirements because they can do a lot more line checks then, a lot quicker on the airframe.
I think so. Yes, I think that's the reason for it. But they, it was a full load. They managed to fill the aircraft. So it's a very nice time of arrival because it's 2 hours ahead of the UK. So you get there about 3:15 in the afternoon, and then coming home, it was a 4 o'clock flight. Got in just after 5:15 local time. I would have been a bit peed off if they'd suddenly switched it to an A319, which if things can happen, can't they? But no, the prospect of going on it again, because I'd been on it before on business, was great. And I really like that aircraft. And it's a good place to be, as I've said. I really enjoyed it.
So now you're retired, it's time to get used to Ryanair.
This is an airline which I've got to. I've heard about them. I need to look it up on the internet.
It's the blue and yellow ones, mate.
To see what they do. Yeah. I'll how do you spell that again? I'm not familiar.
Yeah. EAS.
But
I'll swap with you, Nev, in August. You can have my seat with Ryanair to Dublin, and I'll drive Mrs.
You
Nev
take the car.
over.
Yeah. Okay. No, fair enough.
I have booked 1C. To be fair.
Okay. That's good enough, isn't it?
I could have had 1A. I'm not going to lie. I could have had 1A when I booked a ticket a few weeks ago, but having sat in 1A before, when we flew out, I think it was when we flew out to.
You were in 1A when we went.
Was it when it was raining? Was it with you, Matt, when it was pouring of rain and we boarded the aircraft?
We got very, very wet.
And you get a very wet knee sitting in 1A because the door is right there. So I made the decision to book in 1C.
Is there no bulkhead? Is it just you're straight up? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Your knee is in the doorway as such when you're sitting in 1A on the 7th.
At least a quick exit when you land.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. But no, it's good, Nev. A real good video as well. And I was impressed as well by the quality of that camera because some of the tail cams and stuff can be a bit grainy.
No, they've done a great job of that, and the way that it's streamed to the each of the individual screens as well. So yeah, phenomenally good, excellent.
Right, time for a bit of military news, and we've got one story this week, but it is a look back at this particular time or particular year in military aviation. So, Matt, if you're ready.
What's up, Bogies 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. 100 Bogies.
And the first story this week comes to us from vintageaviationnews.com. Before we start the story, I'm going to point this out that I actually got a G in my GCSE German, so I do apologise.
Goody, this should be fun.
Anyway, this week in aviation history was the first flight of the Messerschmitt Me 321 Gigant, or Gigant.
It's a cracking start.
It's a large aircraft. So on this week, the 25th actually, yesterday of February 1941, the massive Messerschmitt Me 321 Gigant, or Giant, combat glider made its first flight, being the largest assault glider of World War II. The name Giant was certainly apt for the aircraft, but getting this massive glider into the air was easier said than done. At the start of the World War II, the largest transport aircraft in the German Luftwaffe was the Junkers Ju-52, the trimotor that had been in both civil and military use since the early 1930s. However, by the time Germany had defeated France in June 1940, and began preparations for the invasion of Britain, Operation Sea Lion, the Luftwaffe found itself in need of a much larger transport than the Ju-52, one that could carry 88mm gun with a tractor or an entire Panzer 6 medium tank, or up to 200 fully equipped troops. Even with the German defeat, the Battle of Britain, and the cancellation of the Operation Sea Lion, the Luftwaffe remained committed to the idea of a large transport, especially now that the German High Commander began preparations for Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. To make this transport economical to German industrial capabilities, it was decided to build a large wooden and fabric glider to be towed into the air and to be released from its cable and descend behind enemy lines with its troops and equipment to be offloaded. This glider project would receive the code name Project Warsaw. A striking profile of the Messerschmitt Me 321 Giant soaring above can be seen on a picture. Hopefully Matt will be able to pop up soon, because it is an interesting aircraft, there's no doubt about that. Two companies presented their proposals for a Grossamer Lastenschläger, a large capacity transport glider, to the Luftwaffe's technical bureau as part of the Project Warsaw. One of them was a Junkers Ju-322 Mammoth, codenamed Warsaw Ost or Warsaw East, and the Messerschmitt Me 321 Gigant, or Giant, codename Warsaw South. The Me 321 was initially to be designated the Me 263 before that design was reused for a late war rocket fighter design. Design team led by Joseph Froelich, the resulting Gigant was built using a metal tubular frame with wooden spars covered in doped fabric, and the fuselage's floor required heavy bracing to accommodate the weight of the equipment to be carried by the aircraft. The wing structure was built of plywood covered in doped fabric to save weight, and put less strain on Germany's limited availability to use sheet metal outside of the development of fighter aircraft and bomber aircraft. The ME321 had no conventional landing gear, but rather a jettisonable undercarriage with main wheels from a Bf-109 fighter in the front and 2 main wheels from a Junkers Ju-90 transport in the rear. After takeoff, the undercarriage would be jettisoned and the aircraft would land in a field or on 4 extendable skids. And it's safe to say it does look rather interesting. I mean, hats off to them, because it carried, for what was something that looked like it was a bit like a house brick with wings, actually carried quite a bit of weight. For sure. But no, a little bit of history there then for a change this week on the show. Yeah, I seem to remember one of these pictures that Matt's put on the screen. Didn't we have an aircraft that looked very similar like this in the UK? A cargo transport aircraft. I'm sure we had something.
A proper aircraft, yes, that was used by British United Air Ferries out of Southend to transport cars across the Channel.
That's
Can't
the
remember
one.
what it's called. But yeah, I know the aircraft that you mean.
Yeah, one with an actual motor.
Several.
Several, yes. But yeah, that is our little bit of military history on the show this week. So I think, Nick, thank you for putting that in there this week. Nev's gutted he didn't get to read that one this week.
Yeah.
See his face. But yeah, thank you for that. We'll have more military news next week on the show. Hopefully, we'll get Nev to read all those stories. But so we are going to start to wrap up the show. But first, have a quick roundup to see how everyone is faring for this week. Obviously, Nev being retired, you're not planning any exciting adventures, I would imagine.
Well, I'm going to have my hair cut tomorrow.
Steady.
We've got a fella coming round tomorrow afternoon to help us redesign the ensuite bathroom. What else? We're going to go shopping on Saturday morning to our local supermarket.
Oh.
So, yeah, all this sort of stuff that you don't get to hear about normally.
How did you have time for it before you retired, Nev?
I don't know. It's mad,
You
isn't
didn't eat.
Yes, I was terribly undernourished. Not, but yeah. So yeah, not a great deal happening the next week or so.
Have you actually got any more flying trips lined up for this year, Nev, or is it sort of early?
The only ones that I've got is we've got a flight to Gran Canaria in September.
All right. Okay.
And I've got to do a flight before the end of September because I've got one of those BA companion vouchers to use up. So we've got to find somewhere to go between now and then. But that's the only flying probably, unless something else comes up.
Oh my word!
Between now and then.
Wow. What about you, Andy? I know you said you are busy. You've got tons on your plate, but I'm guessing it's all sim stuff.
Yeah, I'm desk bound for the next 2 weeks while I finish off a lot of work for the summer. And then I'm in the sim week after next, just testing some final bits to finish it all off. And then I'll be doing more flying, actual flying for once.
Ooh.
And more instructing as well. But this weekend, I am flying on Ryanair as a passenger.
Oh.
To Dublin for the weekend.
Oh, no.
Which will be an interesting trip with the lads. So, yes. Hopefully I'll be recovered by Wednesday next week.
Oh, fingers crossed, everyone.
Did you go all out, Andy, and buy the posh seats?
I've got no idea. I didn't even book the flight. I'm just turning. I don't even know where we're staying, what we're doing. I'm just turning up. I'm going on a magical mystery tour.
Love that.
We'll have to put him in touch with Alan, Nev.
So I don't think I've got time.
No.
I fly on Friday afternoon. I'm back on Sunday morning.
Oh my word!
Anyway, we quite like Alan. Why are we doing that?
Yeah.
That's not very nice, Matt. That's not very nice.
I can't think of anything more terrifying than you and a load of your like-minded people terrorising the streets of Dublin.
No pub is safe in Dublin.
We are lovely people.
I'm being terribly unfair. I take it all back.
Yes, but I will be back next week.
Oh, good. That's good. Correct answer, that one. Matt, any exciting things happening in the world of have you for the next week?
No, still housebound at the moment because I've been a little bit unwell, so just sort of housebound waiting for that to all settle down, and then looking forward to sticking my nose out the front door. Hopefully over the weekend I'll be allowed out. So,
well, let's hope the weather gets better because the forecast again is not that great for the weekend.
Indeed. A bit like it was today, wet.
Oh my word! I know.
Am I the only one that's really fed up of all the wet stuff now?
I literally said that yesterday. I'm getting tired of just the whole. Yeah. Oh, honestly,
definitely,
summer.
I think we all need to emigrate. That's what we need to do. We need to go somewhere else.
But we have got some air shows to look forward to this year, which is going to be good as well. But yeah. Right, social media links. Nev, where can our glorious listeners go to when I want to find out more about the show?
Yeah, if you want to go to the socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and LinkedIn, just search for Plane Talking UK. You'll find us there. Also, the email address for the studio is podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and the website is www.planetalkinguk.com as well. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll get notifications when we go live. So you can join us in the chat room, as many people have done tonight. And thank you very much indeed for doing so. Just go to youtube.com and search for Plane Talking UK. If you want to help with the running of the show in terms of some of the costs that we have, you're very welcome to make any donation that you would like to. Just go to our website and it will tell you all the details about Patreon and PayPal donations that you can make. And for those people that donate, thank you very much indeed.
Yes, and for those of you who are itching to get your hands on a piece of 757, I know Matt is. The guys.
I'm sorry, what now?
The guys over at Plane Reclaimers are starting the sale of the next bits and pieces from the one of the latest 757s that they've got there on site, and that's tomorrow. I think the shop opens on those, and I'm determined to at least try and get myself a piece of one of the 75s before they all sell out as well.
Don't know what the X-Jet Jet 2 ones, are they?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And you've discussed this with your wife, have you?
I haven't said anything to Gemma. But my theory on it is that there is a piece of wall there, which is bare, and I could probably get it delivered to work, and then,
and
you need the full
she'll
cockpit.
Never know. That's what you're trying to suggest.
You need the full cockpit of a 757 in there, set up as a simulator. That's what you need.
Oh my word! I would.
Yeah, he'd never go to work if that was the case. To be fair.
Well, this is true. Yeah, the sale that goes live tomorrow at 2 p.m. GMT for it's parts of Golf Lima Sierra Alpha November.
You know that bit of grass that's outside your house, outside the front? That is the perfect size for a pallet with an APU on it, I would say, as well. So why not do that?
APU,
I was thinking like his new home being the tent. I think that he'll be made to sleep in if that were the case.
Not the whole hog. Just get an RB211.
Well, I've got a blade. I've got the first.
Oh, you don't. You want the first stage, second stage, third stage. You want the full engine, whole thing.
Okay.
Wheels going round in here.
Oh no!
We can hear them. Yes.
I can smell them. But I can smell the burning up the hill. Yeah.
Well, I've got a piece of the 7.4. I've got a window section 7. I've got a window section from the TriStar, and my third bucket list aircraft to get a piece from is a 7.5.
I do get that, mate. I do very much get that. But you've got something going on very, very soon, and as soon as your wife finds out, she is going to go bananas.
But I cannot afford to miss out on this. I really can't.
Dear.
I really can't.
Yes,
but anyway,
Richard Adams has a very sound idea, I think.
What's
that? Book the delivery and suggest that she has a girls' night out when it arrives.
That's next weekend, so I technically could.
He just got that old thing. Yeah. That RB211. That's been there for ages.
That
one for ages.
You see, this is the thing. I've known Gemma for a number of years. That will not work. She will know everything.
Although, can I just point out one thing, that when we had some people viewing the house last Friday, They were more than impressed with the windows in the other studio indoors.
And your studio, to be fair, as well. They were quite blown away by that. But,
so it's for those of you wanting to sell a house out there, buy some pieces of aircraft.
Yes, indeed. Buy a PT UK studio that I have to come and set up. Yeah. Bill
anyway,
says,
right.
I just tell her you found it on the way home. Was Bill's suggestion?
Oh yeah. I could try that. Yeah.
Anyway,
fell in the car on the way home.
Anyway,
that is it for episode 540 of the show. Big thanks to everyone who tuned in tonight on YouTube for watching as well. Thank you to everyone, and also to all the audio downloaders of the show who listen to us and download every week. Thank you to one and all. And we'd also, don't forget, send in your feedback. We would really, really love to hear from you. So that's it from me, Carlos, here in the home studio, from Matt in the Master Suite studios, from Nev in his glorious Buckinghamshire studios, and from Andy in the pub studio. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you all again next Wednesday. Say goodbye, Nev.
Take care. Have a good one. See you. Bye-bye.
Oh, Gemma's going to have so many new diamonds. It's just amazing. I'm really excited for her. I really am.
You get all these bits, you can have people showing up at your house going, do you take scrap metal?
Oh, dear. I could not. I'll tell you what, if I worked that side of the country, I would... Oh, geez, I'd so love a job there.
I mean, I'm amazed you haven't asked for
really
a job.
would.
I'm just saying.
I'd give anything to work over at St Athan.
Right, okay. Well, dreams can come true.
I mean, it's a blooming long way to go.
It's about the furthest part in the country for you, isn't it? I mean, in terms of you're on the East Coast and they're
we're here, and it's there. Yeah,
it couldn't be much further away, to be fair.
But this is where you finish your PPL. You then fly to work each day, chop up aircraft, and then fly home each day.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad life.
This is the dream. This is your dream, mate. You've got to make it happen.
Can I just point out, Mr. Wilson, you are yet to purchase a piece of an aircraft for your establishment.
I know I am. I'm very, very fussy.
Yeah, you are. But for good reason, to be fair, because you got something in mind. You want something from something you've flown, haven't you? That's your sort of dream.
Yes, I get that. I do get that.
And also, I'm currently partway through an extension being built on the back of the house at the moment.
Okay, right.
So funds have been diverted.
Yes, the fun pot is no longer available.
Not for now.
No, indeed. No, it sounds.
I've got kitchens to pay for and floors to pay for and boring adult stuff like that.
Oh, adulting really sucks, doesn't it?
It does.
Oh, dearie me.
Anyway,
right. Shall we let these? We
better let these lovely people go back to their Wednesday evenings. I've lost the browser with the Zoom page in. It's disappeared
Has it?
off the side.
Well, you're still there, so it's there somewhere.
I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, thanks again to everyone for tuning in. Lots of great comments in the chat room as well, from people saying thank you to us for tonight's show. That's fine. We very much enjoyed having you all in the chat room. So, Nev, would you like to say the last words to our lovely chat room?
Yes, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Really enjoyed your company, of course, and hope you have a great rest of the week and the weekend. We'll be back at 7 o'clock UK time next Wednesday. So have a good one, and bye for now.